Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Icon here. Today we are hopping on board with Formal as he and the Chicago Huntsmen battle SIMP, Abizi, Celium, the Young Guns, and Atlanta Faze. So as you are watching this, we are only a mere 9 hours away from the very first event. So the reason why we're watching this film, this is from 5 days ago, but the reason why I put it on here is because this is one of those maps that usually ends up going Chicago's way. So in the last couple days, I've seen a ton of prediction videos, and the only problem with those prediction videos is that basically a lot of these matches depend on how the map vetoes go. So, for example, in that very first matchup, Chicago versus Dallas, if they end up playing Hackney Yard, that's one of Chicago's absolute worst maps. But if they end up playing St. Petrograd or Rammaza in that Hardpoint, that is one of Chicago's better maps. So that first matchup really does depend on what maps are selected. So the reason why you're watching this one is because this is one that Chicago's really good at. They might be the best team in the game at this specific map, which is why I'm showing it. So if you can beat Atlanta at this map, then you can probably beat pretty much anybody. And the whole reason why is because of the longer lines of sight. So the reason why we're on board with Formal right here is because not only I want to be able to kind of show you what's going on with spawns a little bit, but a lot of the gunfights that he gets in are pretty long in terms of their lines of sight. Right before this life, when he died, he was backed by that white van, and he was able to kill one and wound two just from having that line of sight advantage. Now, he did die, so it was traded out, but he was able to weaken those two other players that were trying to rush front electronic shop, and then his teammates were able to clean it up. So if we're talking about strategy, I'll just jump into strategy real quick, just in case that's what you're here for. There's 10 seconds left, and it looks like they have, I think it was like a 30-point lead as this is about to rotate. Yeah, a 30-point lead as this is about to rotate to the other side. That's another thing that you'll see right there is that a lot of players are doing this recently. So obviously Formal was in that last hill. He was the only one there. So rather than just look at the mini-map, because if he's looking at the mini-map, there's really only so much that you can see. He'll just hit the start button and bring up the larger map. So the map of the map, I don't know, it's kind of weird to talk about, but when he brings that up, now he can see exactly where people are dying from and exactly where people are getting killed from. So that information he can relay to his teammates that are trying to push forward. But as this goes back to the other side, you'll see that Formal is over here in top rugs, which means that the enemy is spawning over towards ammo. And then as he comes off spawn, you can see that they were able to flip this spawn, which is pretty decent. Now, as it's about to rotate back to the other side into the construction building, they do want to think about rotating over to that side. Now, if you can't get back to that other side for the fourth hardpoint, that's okay. What you should try to do is just contest that as much as you can and hold down that back spawn that they were currently just holding so that when it rotates to ruins, which is the fifth hardpoint, now you have spawns for that also. So even if this fourth hardpoint, they could get in and just kind of leave this one with a little bit of a lead, or if it's even at the end of this fourth hardpoint, then as it rotates to the fifth, they'll have spawns, they'll be able to set up, and then they'll be able to, again, then push the lead out. So just kind of talking about, I'm going to go back and forth here, but as that first event is upon us, so we're on first event eve, I guess you could call it. There are a couple other things that I do want to say. The first matchup is against Chicago. So if we're just doing kind of a rundown of those maps, Search and Destroy is Search and Destroy. We know nothing about Search and Destroy. So that could go either way, and we couldn't say who is going to win at what map because we don't know what strategies look like. We haven't had, 2 events to really break it down. So Search and Destroy doesn't really matter. But in terms of domination and hardpoint, which end up being 3/5 or 60% of the matchup, again, the maps are going to be super important. So if either of those are Hackney Yard, that's probably going to end up going Dallas's way. Now, I will say, when it comes to Hackney Yard for domination, Chicago's a lot better at that. So there are some. So, for example, I know it's hard to really break into the strategy here, but if you hold down A-Dom and B-Bomb, you can really cut off the flank over by green as it rotates back to A-Dom. So you can really set up a nice spawn trap there, and that works for Chicago just because of their AR skill. So that's one where they could potentially take if that Hackney Yard is on domination. If it's Gun Runner, I would say that's probably going to be like a 250 to 230 game. Who's going to end up winning? I don't know. It'll just depend on who ends up clutching up there. If it ends up being St. Petrograd or Rammaza, I do give that one to Chicago. So I don't know. If it's a Zir Cave, that probably goes to Dallas also. So I would say 2 maps go towards Dallas, 2 maps favor Chicago, and then there's one that could really go either way, and that one is Gunrunner like we just talked about. So if we're trying to prepare there for what our predictions might be, I really do think that Chicago is going to win 3-1. I could be totally wrong. They could get blasted and lose 3-0, but I just can't wait. It seems like we've been talking about this for like 4 months now, and I can't wait for it to finally be here. So as we jump back into this gameplay, you'll see that the current hardpoint is on bridge. So what Formal is doing over here, this is a nasty head glitch, by the way. I do have a jumps and spots video for this map that I think a lot of people learned about a spot like that. There are a couple right there where he was standing, but essentially he was just trying to hold down that right flank because you do want to have these back construction spawns as it rotates towards electronic shop. So this is not the spawn that you want. So where Formal spawned, he spawned over there at ammo, and what that means that Atlanta has pushed out through construction and that now they have that black white that back white van spawn over there. So you'll see when you come up right now, you'll see when Formal comes up here again, he's still spawning ammo, and the problem with this is that there's one real choke point, right? You're either coming in through that front door where he just threw that stun, or you could hop over the wall, but a lot of times teams will watch that half wall. So somebody just hopped over right there. I couldn't really see who it was. I don't know if it was ENVOY or Arcides who, but somebody made a nice play there. Now, the current hill is contested, and there were a lot of resources pushed forward for Chicago. So as this rotates, if you give up these last 6 seconds or so, it's really not a big deal. What Formal's teammates should be doing right now is getting in the cuts and not allowing Atlanta to push through. So what I hate about this is that I don't like, and I see this a lot, I don't like Formal being the one that's in the hill. I know at some point in times he's the only one that's back, so rather than not get any points, he has to get in, but he should really be the one locking down a lane just because he's so talented, and right here you see it. He ended up getting pushed out. There are 30 seconds left, and this is one that's super hard to break. Now, if you're coaching against Chicago here, when it comes back to this third hill, they always leave ruins open. So if you want to flip there, then you should push ruins. So if I was a coach for Seattle or Minnesota or whoever, that's something, those are the little things that you should focus on. This is probably the 6th or 7th time where I've seen Chicago is in hill. They have spawns for this back barbershop hill, and they end up getting pushed out through ruins. They end up spawning out over in construction, and then the game kind of flips. So with that, back into where we're currently at, there's a 20-point lead, or right around a 20-point lead for Chicago. They are in, so it'll be interesting to see who ends up getting spawns here and overtaking this hill. It does look like Chicago is going to hold on. Now, what you have to be aware of is right where Formal spawned. So as this is back in the 4th hill, this is going to go to the other side, but you would expect Atlanta to be pushing out, and the map's really quiet right now. It's really odd how quiet. There wasn't really a lot of action there for quite a while. But you would have expected Atlanta to be pushing out this spawn where Formal's at right now. And it seems like all that Atlanta's trying to do is just get in, contest. If they can get a few seconds, great. But they are going to be holding down the other side of the map as it rotates back to the 5th hardpoint inside ruins. So you know what? I want to hear just real quick, just for like 20 seconds or so, I want to hear what Chicago is talking about. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn you guys up as we listen in for just a moment.
Truck just really flew out like that with M4.
Truck and Heady. Heady dead. I got one pillars. Up window.
So there's 3 dead. There's 1 in hill. There's 1 in window.
I'm going ahead. Heady.
Laying back right.
You gotta kill a kid. Fuck, one shot back of the hill, maniac.
That was a tough beat there. most of the time you would expect Formal to finish those kills. That was a tough one to lose. You don't see that very often.
Got him 1 bullet mid flat. Got him.
On the heady.
Got me, alley.
Stop rugs.
That guy top rug, Simp right there, all he's doing is holding down the pinch. So one way that you can flank around that 5th hard point is to go up those mid stairs to mid plat and then jump through the ladder area. So what Simp was doing is he just wasn't allowing them to pinch from the other side of the hill. So essentially, if you're the person in hill watching front towards ammo, you don't have to watch your right side anymore because Simp is posted up top platform and there's nobody coming through there.
Left side rug. Cell's really weak. One's more is gonna be rugs, I think.
Again, Formal and Hill, I know they don't really have an option, but I think that's ENVOY that's pushed up.
Outer.
We'll see who takes over the hill.
Zig step.
I can't really tell. I'm pretty positive that was ENVOY that was pushed up. ENVOY should come back and get the time in Hill. He should flip with Formal. I know it's like a really small thing. That's also a big loss there. I know it's a small thing, but those are just the little things that make a difference. Formal is better out in those cuts because he has an M4 and he's able to get kills that way. This is the perfect example. So Formal being posted up right here, he's probably going to be able to get a couple kills on people as they run towards the hard point.
Zig step. Just down hill.
There's one.
Got one.
There's 2. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why you don't want Formal in the hill. This is why you want him like over in a choke point somewhere because that's what he's able to do. If you flip spots there, ENVOY can't get that kill. He just has an SMG. Right now it's 249 to 224. All they got to do is finish that kill, hop in, and that's going to be all that she wrote. So for this one, guys, I hope that you enjoyed that. I do want to see what happened on the scoreboard right here. But as of right now, if you're watching this at 8 a.m. sharp, when I upload these videos every single day, we are now a mere 9 hours or so away. ENVOY dropped 35. Great map out of him. If he can do that, if ENVOY can show up at land and put on that type of performance, I think Chicago is going to be super hard to beat. Now, if you're playing Hardpoints and ENVOY's dropping like 18 or 19, that's going to be pretty bad for them. So if ENVOY can put that type of performance forward when it comes to a LAN, Chicago is going to be the real deal. They're going to be very hard to beat. So, guys, we are 9 hours away. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Every match, I'm going to be recording. I'm going to be analyzing. I'm going to be uploading. So you don't want to miss that. So with that, thank you guys so much for all the support recently. I super appreciate it. Leave a comment down below. I love to interact with you all. So leave a like before you head on your way. And with that, I will catch you in the next one. We'll see you.